Okay, welcome back, everyone. Perfect.
So it's all working and we live.
Excellent. So it's time now for the final morning presentation. Remember that we mentioned in this conference we are working, presenting in the morning, but we're going to do workshops on 3 different areas. The first one was the prototype of the platform that is already live on the internet, and people are already testing and creating accounts and maybe already publishing resources and commenting on other resources. The second one is the idea of the templates that we are doing to help people that are creating resources so that it's easier for them to do that. And now the third pillar of this Congress is the idea of testing resources for many reasons, obviously because we want to use the resources and testing is using them, but also because that way we can present some feedback. And when we're doing that, we can actually give examples on how feedback can be presented so that it's helpful. Now, there is the feedback, but it's also the feedback of the feedback at the end of the day. And it's the feedback of the feedback of the feedback. And for example, in a few minutes, Sophia here on my left is going to be presenting some feedback about what she has tested of some resources. Others have tested because she was part of the team. Obviously, she's going to do it very, very well. But is it going to be perfect? Impossible. Perfection never exists. And not just big, I mean, Sophia is very good, but anyone can also do better or more adapted. Or maybe what Sophia feedback is giving is very, very good for some people, but maybe for others it's not so good. Because at the end of the day, we teachers are also humans, and as humans, we are in a way like a student human. If I'm teaching the same way to everyone, then eventually I might be a very good teacher for some students, but not very good teachers for others. The same when we are helping other teachers. For some teachers, the feedback might be very good, for others it's not very good. So I would like you, while you're listening to this presentation, to make some notes or maybe even provide feedback of the feedback at the end of the presentation. Because the whole point here is that as a community, we have to help each other. As a community, we want this feedback to be useful. Remember that in the platform, you have 2 main ways to give feedback. You can give feedback directly to any teacher with a direct message, and only that teacher is going to read and reply. But you can also provide public comments that are going to be validated by the teacher. So we don't have to worry about people. You know, I'm working hard on creating some resources for my students. I share them with other teachers. And do I have to be worried about getting feedback that is kind of bad? No, feedback is always good. Feedback should always improve. What happens is that some of this feedback I might want to make it public, and other bits of feedback I want to, just keep it for myself, learn from it, but not necessarily have all my weaknesses or my resources weaknesses live. And this is something that we need to think about as well. Okay. So having said this, it's time, I guess everyone is well connected and disconnected from the previous topics, and now is going to be able to get more insight from. Are you going to start, Sophia? Okay, so Sophia starts here. Okay, all yours.
Thank you. Do you listen to me? Yes. Okay, thanks. So as Alvaro says, this is my feedback. You cannot have a perfect feedback because any person has his feedback. So I recorded my presentation because I think it's better for the sound, so you can hear better. I'm going to share it. I hope you can hear it. But you're not going to listen.
Yes, we're gonna play one. You can play yours. Play yours.
But I'm with a.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello everyone, I'm Sophia, I'm a primary school teacher and I have already collaborated with the EduPlat project. This time I was asked to choose other teacher resources which were previously showed. Then I tested, and now I will present the results. My choice of the different resources was made according to the age, the level of learning, and in line with the tastes of my students. So I chose the bingo times tables. That is the classic bingo game used to teach multiplication and the timetables. And the stories dice. That's a game to create stories. About the bingo timetables. It's a classic bingo game using boards with numbers. Each player has a board and a pen. The teacher says a multiplication like 2 times 3, and the students should think about it and then write in the right place. The objective is to fill all the places, and in the end they say bingo. It's a game to work timetables, multiplication, and mental calculation. So I tested with my students, and now I will show you a video with the results.
2 vezes 1, 2 times 5. 2 vezes 1, 2 times 1.
So, about my review. I think it's a fun way to learn, of course. As we all know, children learn better when they are motivated and involved in the learning process. This reality is visible when students use games such as those presented. The competition of the games helps the students to be more focused and interested. We definitely have more results with the activities like this instead of just writing all the timetables. But to perform this game, we need a lot of material. First, you need to print one board for each student, then you need to cover with plastic so you can erase it, and then you need a pen for each student. Sometimes it's difficult for the teacher to think about many multiplication without repeating, so I think repetition is not a good thing. So here are my suggestions. Instead of using pens, because we're going to need a lot of them, we can use reusable material like lids, bins, and other material, like I did in the second video. You can do it digitally. This could be the best way, especially if every student has a computer. This way you can have many multiplication without repetitions. And then you can mix multiplication with division. It's more challenging. The stories dices. Using dices to create stories. First, we need to roll the dices. We have a dice for the beginning of the story, the dice that shows the place where the story happens, to the characters, some elements, and a dice to the end of the story. While we are rolling, we are building a story in group. We can always add some details. These games help students to develop and apply the vocabulary and grammatical structures already learned. So I did it in a small group and I used to improve the writing abilities. Here they are rolling the dice. A good thing about the dice, it's an activity that works writing abilities, like I said, which is very important, and sometimes it's not so easy to teach and engage the students because they don't like it very much. So with this game, students found that writing and creating histories could be funny. Again, you will need a lot of material because you need a lot of dice to not repeat. And not so good. You have few possibilities, so it will repeat many times the same word, the repetition again. It could be discouraging for the students. My suggestion for this activity is use more dice so you can have more possibilities and different stories. Do it digitally. You can add a million of words and elements and roll it without repeating. And do it in small groups and with collaboration or individually, and use it to write in a paper or a computer. So this was my analysis about the resources. Of course, it was according to the age and the level of my students. It will depend on several factors. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before Sarah starts, I'm going to give you just one example of the feedback of the feedback. And again, my feedback of the feedback is certainly not perfect, and I'm sure that you can give me like many suggestions on how to do a better feedback of the feedback. And we could go on forever like this. But it's important that we get into the idea of this because at the end of the day, to help each other, to collaborate, to be able to not just use other resources like once and not say anything about it. And we need to be able to learn how to do the feedback. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide feedback of Sophia's feedback. And remember, it's my perspective, yeah, and it's certainly not just well, I really like many things of what she did. First of all, she did one video that was fantastic. That was like really, really good. The only bad thing about it is that some of you are going to say, oh, every time I use a resource, do I have to do a video like that? Absolutely not. You don't have to do the video. You don't have to do even the presentation. You just have to write a few lines. She did that because she's a hardworking teacher and she was presenting here. But, you know, we don't want people to think that you have to go up to the standards of Sophia's feedback that were so high. No, we don't want teachers to invest so much time in doing that. She did because we asked her to do it for this purpose of this Congress. Okay, so that's important. I really like also that she structured, as you could probably feel, in the three main sections that we spoke about, that we can give value. We can talk about the green light, things that are going very, very, very well. She talks about the yellow light, things that, well, you know, she's giving suggestions, maybe yes, maybe no. And then a few of the red lights as well, of things that, you know, they didn't work, or at least they didn't work for her or with her students. And this is very, very important. Now, if you notice this, I'm now just telling you things about the feedback that are all in the green light, things that she did very, very well. And why am I doing this? Because do I want to publish, like, say things about the feedback of the feedback that might not be so interesting? I'm going to do that with Sophia, but I'm going to do that privately. Okay, so anything that is yellow light and red light, sometimes it's best to do it privately, because at the end of the day, if I just publish it here, and then Sophia might think, oh gosh, you know, I did so much work and he's finding me so many mistakes, and I'm quite good at finding mistakes. In fact, I think that everyone is very good at finding mistakes. We study this in neuroscience. We are programmed to find mistakes. We see this on the news. The news is all about the mistakes of humanity, and some people feel depressed thinking that the world is so bad and the world is so good. But, you know, sadly, EduPlat is not yet on the news much. And I think we're doing very, very, very good things. But probably on the news now, there's going to be people that have killed other people and things like that. So it's important that when we publish things, remember, green lights always rocks, and it's really, really good. Another little bit of feedback that I'm going to say that is not in none of these things, that I like the way that she used the video, and she put Cliveo. Is it cliveo.com? Is that the name of the tool that you use to make these videos? Yeah. Okay, no problem. Yeah. So this is interesting. Like when someone is using a resource, so when someone is publishing like a resource, then he might publish something attached to that. That is, in this case, a tool. And remember, tools are also educational resources. Personally, I've been doing like screenshot videos with many different platforms, and I really like that one. Do you pay for that one? The video is free, so you might get a watermark. The watermark, no problem. Yeah, watermark is good. At the end of the day, we're using that, so it's really, really good. I like and this is feedback about the Cliveo as a tool. This is an educational resource. I like the fact that you could have very good voice quality, and also you can have a little circle with Sophia's face as she was talking, so you can see the presentation and the little circle. Oh, that was on camera. Oh, okay. So she was using. Okay, so she was using two things at the same time. One day, maybe Sophia will talk more about how she did all of this with a combination of Cliveo and Canva, and it's quite interesting. Well done. Yes, yes.
There's also another resource just like Lideo. It's called Screencast-O-Matic. I use it a lot during the pandemic. It lets you speak on a presentation on a video and gives you also the circle with your image too. Or if you want, you can also choose not to show yourself on the presentation.
But because I use Screencast-O-Matic, and you can do it without creating an account. You can just do it live, which is good. But if I remember well, you can only do the video either for a very, very short period of time, as in the video showing your little face or big face, if you want a big face of yours, only if either you pay or your video is very, very short. So that was I think the presentation of this one was interesting. Okay. And anyway, so we're talking about the presentation of the presentation and the tools of the presentation. So we might want to move on. Yeah. Okay. So Sarah, if you want to do yours now, thank you. As actually, Juicy wants to. You have a hand up, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Sophia, for your presentation. It was really effective. In fact, I was able to focus on the content of your presentation. I'm curious to know, when you say and you suggest to do it digitally, in your case that you refers to these young people, how did you imagine to transfer it digitally in order to achieve the same goal and not lose the part that worked before and do it analogically?
Yeah, so if you have the lucky of every student has a computer, it will be much easier and they will be much engaged in the activity because it's a computer, you know, they always love computers. And my students, all of students has a computer, so it's more easy for me. But if you don't have, it's going to be not so easy. I think.
Okay, thank you. Yes, because me too, I don't have an answer for it. First of all, because my students are not so young, so I don't know how they interact with digital tools. So you can know better how is their experience with digitally. What I can provide to you as feedback, maybe to try with them to repeat the same exercise digitally in order to see how it is their experience in that sense. So you can see if during that you can have the same good results and you avoid a problem that was raised before with that limit of scarcity of resources.
Yeah. I already tried with the computer, the timetables. We have like a competition now and they are practicing for the competition and they are really more engaged in this because they want to win something and all they can do it in the computer. When you have the board, it's more difficult. You need one board as each student, it's not the same. But yes, you can do on both ways.
And at the end, we can do any program that you need for that. So you need a bingo, I do a bingo.
Thank you both. Yeah, we have many comments. These conversations are really, really interesting. I really like Juicy's comment on obviously if you think that something can be made, you can try it. But remember that there is another way to do that. You can also let someone try. And this is the whole point of EduPlat. If we share resources, you say, for example, I'm A, I share a resource. B gives me feedback. It could be a C that says, oh, I like the resource, I like the feedback, and I'm going to try the resource with the using the modifications that this other person suggested, and I'm going to give more comments on that. And it all builds up. It all gets better and better. And it's not just one person doing all the work. It's many of us. And obviously, it's not just about time. It's that 3 people can always do better than just one. Okay, no matter how good it is. You wanted to make another comment? Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but we can't hear anything.
Yeah, we have little technical problems can easily be solved if we just swap, like say. Now, but this is Daniela.
Yeah.
And then we have
Yeah, we exchange our names. Okay, meanwhile, I was looking at your video. I figured out how to adapt also it to, I guess, students, older students, and I think that your experience and also your adaptation of that resource is very inspirational also for other people, and it is the main goal, because I figured out how to employ this way, and maybe by using the same dice, not for storytelling, because maybe students in my grade are older, but using it for making them practice speculation. So by means of the use of modals and maybe on the several phases of the dice, we could use a few like this thing. Different kinds of models, so they had to provide them to create the sentences using them, and it could be made digitally, or even in this case maybe I prefer also the material dice, because it's a way also to cooperate, to interact to each other, and without losing the eye contact, without losing the touching part.
And you can put
Yeah.
your students building
together.
like
Yeah, the same. So very inspirational, and also to look at your video and to readapt.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Patricia. Very, very interesting. Again, I just want to make a little comment on like why also another reason why all this collaboration is important. I like going in the mountains, and I like running. And in my case, I like running on my own, and I'm happy doing that. But I found out that many people don't run on their own much. They like to run with others. And you've probably seen in your towns, in your cities, many people that get together and run. And sometimes they have competition. It's not really competition. Most people go into these marathons, half marathons, just a run for fun. They're running more because when you see others running, then you get more motivated. And it's not just that necessarily that you copy others running, that you're doing more. So this is why this feedback is very, very important. If I'm teacher A and I share a resource and I don't get any feedback, the teacher going to go there, oh, maybe it's good, maybe it's not, but there are many other things to do. Not as many are going to use that resource. But if teacher B gives me some feedback and it says, oh, this is really good, and it can be done this way as well, then teacher C is more likely to use that resource and to also get engaged into the cooperation of producing something different and publishing it there. And this especially happens at the very beginning. And this is right now. We are now at the very beginning of this platform that is going to be great to share resources and to give comments and to give feedback. So if you are a little bit motivated, then remember that you can do that as soon as we stop this presentation during lunchtime, or maybe later on this evening or tomorrow. Okay. Now we have Sarah here. So Sarah also has done a few testings of resources, and we're gonna hear her feedback. Thank you.
You can listen me? Yes? Okay.
Yes, very well.
Sim, já está. Já está. Sim. Tá? Yes. Yes. Okay. Good morning. Bom dia aos nossos colegas em Portugal. The activities I choose to present and that I test with my students are the double and the verb battleship. So, the first game, double, I'm going to explain the objective of this game.
In this game, the player has to identify the common symbol between two cards and say its name out loud. Whoever is faster is the winner. So I worked the game with foreign students. We have some students in our school that came from England and the United States. They have between 7 and 10 years old. So as you can see, they can work the vocabulary. In that case, the food. But also they can try the vocabulary, the school supplies, parts of the human body, and so on. So the feedback of this game, and starting with the green light, I think this activity works on learning knowledge and vocabulary, test focusing and observation skills, and it's a very fun activity. In the yellow light, which doesn't work so well, the younger kids might like it more than older kids. The teacher needs to produce different cards for each topic, and the students might be uninterested if the game is played too often. In the red lights, what doesn't work, in my opinion, the students get very excited and might lose concentration, and the students might get upset if they lose. So the next activity is the verb battleship. In this game is the same as the normal battleship game, but with verbs. Students have to conjugate the verbs in the required verb tenses. It is interesting because the students are testing their colleagues and themselves. When they understand the game, they really, really like the game. Yes. So my feedback about this game, I think it's a very fun game. Students always like games, and it can be reusable. What doesn't work so good? It can be repetitive, and students need to be very focused. What doesn't work? Sorry. It can be time consuming. It might not work well with younger kids. And that's it. Thank you all. I hope you feel comfortable using these resources with your students.
Thank you very much, Sara.
Okay.
Muito obrigado. Okay, now there's going to be time for there is going to be time for everyone to make comments and questions. Remember that the objective was, on one hand, to do a recap of some of the resources that were selected from that were presented in these other two congresses and were selected by a team of teachers that were testing them, but also to get to know more about how we can help teachers that have published resources by providing good feedback, and by helping others to use the same resources maybe in a slightly different way, and also just to motivate them to do that. Now, I really like Sarah's feedback on the yellow. I like it because it made me think about, possibilities. For example, she said that double, she felt like maybe it might not be good for big students. I mean, I agree with her because at the end of the day, sometimes big students, they're not into that, games for little. And I have to say that eventually they're in the richer level, that maybe they go bigger, and most of us probably have reached that level that, more mature, and eventually say, yeah, I like games for little children. So it's also important, don't give up on the fact that, when students get 12 years old, they don't like it, does not mean that when they are back in 17 or towards the end of being teenagers, they might not like it, even if you're teaching adults. And remember that at EduPlat, we want to share resources for many different people. Now, I also liked the inspiration that is true that many of these resources, we need to publish more and more and more. So it might be a lot, very time consuming for the teacher. This is why we're here for, this is what EduPlat. And remember, when you publish educational resources in EduPlat, it can be of many, many types. So obviously, double as the activity, as the main activity, is an educational resource. But some teachers may say, well, I'm not going to introduce double. I'm not going to talk about double. I'm just going to share specific resources that I have used with double. Obviously, it's very, very important that you tag them this way so that, we can find not just resources in general, but specific resources to be used using one game or one tool or one anything. Because at the end of the day, this is what this is all about. Obviously, we are going to be working on making sure that those so many resources can be easily found, because at the end of the day, it's true that we can use, the many resources that are live, but often the problem that we teachers have is that if I spend 3 hours to find a resource and only 2 to create a new one, then I'm probably going to use the economy and invest 2 of my hours to create it from scratch. And so what we need to do, and this is our job in EduPlat, is making sure that you have easy access to the resources and also to the feedback, because it's not the same to find a resource that is in the middle of nowhere that I have no idea who's used it, who's produced it, or how can it be used properly, than if I have all of this feedback from other teachers that is encouraging me and guiding me in how to use the resource better. So this is why EduPlat can be so interesting. Now, obviously, again, we have comments. I don't know if there's anyone else from your team, and maybe Alessandra was going to present another resource, or yeah, there's Alessandra. Are you going to be presenting also more on that? Or?
Yes, and Daniela also. If you don't have time to present them all in the morning, I can still make the presentation in the afternoon and talk about how to use it and transform it in a workshop. So I don't know if Daniela prefers to present hers now in the morning. In the afternoon, I would present mine.
Yes, it might be better. Hello, good morning, everyone. Even because my resource is the one that Sarah shared with us, but I made the adaptation for my group of students that are youngest. So it might be interesting to see the difference and how it works. Yes?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So let me see if I can do this. So I'm like, just a second. Here. Okay. I'm gonna share. Am I sharing my screen yet?
Not yet, not yet, Daniela.
Okay. Okay, this one.
No.
Okay. This here. this one. So, the battle of the verbs, it's my presentation. This is my work for a group of children from the 3rd grade. And after they learn the verbs and the pronouns, it's time for the work and to try and to change this sorry. Okay. So what are the goals? To apply and consolidate personal pronouns, apply and mobilize tense, and work on reading and indication coordinates, because in this game they work skills from Portuguese and from math too. The material that we need plasticide cards for being reusables, table for the players, and markers to write the coordinates. How it works. I made a little video with the result. Okay.
We cannot hear the sound of the video, Daniela.
No?
No, when you share it, remember, share it with the option, share also the
Okay.
the audio of the system.
I'm gonna share again, maybe with that option. Okay, thank you. Now I think it's gonna work. Share. Okay. Let's go back to the presentation. Sorry. Oops. Okay, now for the, everyone can hear me? Yes. Okay, now for the end, the conclusion. I think it makes this this kind of work and of material, it makes easier if we introduce the activity starting with the two large groups until they reach the point of playing in pairs. It's easier, they will try to understand in group, and after they understand the how the game works, it's easier. It's enthusiastic for the students and increase familiarity of the terms and concepts addressed in this game. Thank you. I don't know if everyone have. I can't hear anyone. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Daniela. We heard you very, very well. Muito obrigado. It was fantastic. Now, if I understood you well, what you're saying is that one of the contributions is a feedback to a resource that, say, for example, that was already published, is to say, what I would do is to introduce the activity using a video of other students using the activity. Is that correct? Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Watching others do something motivates people to do that. Instead of us talking about how an activity can be done in a class that sometimes takes a long time and we disconnect with students, because how many of you have students that can be listening for you for more than 5 minutes about explaining how to do something without actually doing it, or at least seeing how others do it? Not many. Watching a video of how other students do that, probably with motivating music that makes them probably not dance, but at least will be more active, is good. Seeing happy faces of students doing an activity is interesting. Seeing students that are engaged in the activity motivates them to copy and do the same and get engaged. And the combination of the two is magic. In a way that we're showing them, if you are engaged, you're going to learn, but you're also going to be happy. And this is what they want to do. And there is no better way to do that than a video of another teacher or yourself doing it with other students. And this is also how we can collaborate with each other. Say, for example, when we are publishing resources, we can certainly explain about the resource itself, but we can also publish in EduPlat a link to a video on YouTube or any platform we want on how we have used the activity with students, saying, you know, maybe it's interesting for the teacher that might be using an activity that is brand new and it's easy to explain, but also for that teacher to explain to his students, look, a teacher at the other side of the world was using these activities with his students, and I think it's really great. Watch the video, and then let's do it us here in this side of the world. I think it's really, really good. Well done. Well done. Okay, I have a few people here with the hands up. Remember that now we have a few minutes for you to ask questions, make comments.
And I say
anyone. We have someone here on the right. Do you see? Put your hand up. You can put your virtual hands up as well, or your physical. Okay, so go ahead, you see.
So thank you everyone for sharing with us. For me, it's an opportunity to learn from you, because I could see that your students are very young. So there is a difference in approaching that students. And since we are in this feedback session, I would ask to you who wants to share, how do you prepare your students to receive feedback? If you have any approach or any tools, because also for me that my students are adults, that we suppose that it's something that they take it sportively, it's hard. So how you prepare your students in receiving feedback? Thank you.
Sometimes they give feedback spontaneously. For example, I have used Kahoo and Bamboozle, and sometimes in a motivational course, and sometimes they don't want to play Bamboozle, but I have insisted because with Bamboozle it is easier to use team games. At the end, they are accepting this because once they understand how it works, they have fun and accept not what is imposed, but what is proposed for their sake.
Anyone else?
Yeah, we have many hands already now, so I don't know if Francesca, you want to continue with you have your microphone open to you have to make
I
a
wanted
comment,
to add something about an experience, so we had better finish this.
Okay.
And if we have time, I'll tell you
Excellent.
about one experience I'm making about a resource.
Thank you, Francesco. Alessandra also has the hand up. So Alessandra, if you want to pick up your microphone.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for all of you have shared with us today, and about these two lost resources, because I think it was very interesting the fact that both Sara and Daniela used the same resource and they applied it in a different way. And I noticed that Daniela showed how she used it with younger students, and she simplified it, which is also good to have this idea that with older students, Sara used the more formal way of playing the game with the offensive grid and the defensive grid. The students are can understand better this complex idea of defending, attacking, and so on. With Daniela, she used just a much more simple sheet where they just had to write down their offensive, their defensive grid. It is good to see these two perspectives and how both of them have used the same resource but adapted it to the students. And I think that this is the best thing that we can have from this Congress, which is the feedback, how we adapt things, how we put it in practice with our students, depending on the age level they have.
Thank you, Alessandra. Yeah, very, very important. In fact, remember that it's also important not just to try with different levels and to report the feedback, but the way we report the feedback. So say, for example, going back to the video that is showing all the students doing the activity. Say, for example, I have students that are, I don't know, in the like 14-year-olds, and I only have one video of, say, 11 years old using the activity. Is that video going to motivate my students? Probably not. Probably not. So this is why we need more feedback, and we need more videos, and we need more resources. Because if I've used it with my, say, for example, with my 11 years old, and I think that I can adapt the activity to a 14 years old, but I haven't done it yet. How can I show a video of my own students? No, I can't. I need to use someone else's video with someone else's students that are more or less within the group conditions that I'm teaching, and then they will get more motivated. I'm sure they can get more motivated watching, for example, Italian students that are 15-year-olds than they could get motivated with students that are from the same school, but they are younger and they feel, oh, this is for little kids, it's not for me. Yeah. Okay. Ruben, you have your hand up as well.
Yeah, I'm just adding to what you were saying before, that we can use different, the same exercise sometimes it's not working for an age period, and then it works again. It will be interesting for the people that is going to use the platform just to make this amends and say, okay, I designed this game dice that is useful for this age, and in this way is useful for this age. So, and that way, we are going to recycle a lot of these resources that we are already using. For example, I've been using story dice a lot of time in creativity and script writing and things like that. and they enjoy it. And I'm talking about people 30, 40 years old, and they just enjoy it as much as 8 years old people. So we can recycle. So, but sometimes we maybe need to write the ideas that we need to for different disciplines, different subjects, or even different age periods. And that will be really useful if we have that. And even we can use the platform for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruben. I have also a comment here, Margarita, saying that, you know, she does mainly private tuition online. She has only one student. So obviously, you know, a game that is played between two students, when you only have one student, is also different. Sure, you can play with your student, but is it the same? How can it be done? What other resources do we need? Obviously, EduPlat is great to connect teachers and their students. Eventually, we can ask them to play with each other. Like, you know, well, you've used it with your students, I've used it mine. Can we connect each other and let them play on a video conference like this? This is also a great opportunity. Excellent. Okay, we have a few more minutes left. I'm waiting for more hands up or comments. And just before we get more, just one little note. Say, for example, that you are publishing one video of, say, for example, you're publishing a video of how you use a specific resource. As we said, the way we've created the platform, we don't want to host the videos because there are already many platforms that do that. If you do that, please try to tag us back. That is, you are, say, for example, you create a video, you publish it on YouTube, and you get from YouTube a URL. That is the address of where your video is hosted. And all you have to do, as Ruben showed you earlier on this morning, you have to copy and paste this URL in the EduPlat website, and then eventually we'll get some of the variables of this video, some of the information, and then you can put on the rest. Once you press submit, you will also get a URL from the EduPlat where your resource is being explained. Eventually, it's going to be used, and you're going to get feedback. That URL, it will be very, very good that you put it, you copy and paste it back where you have the video explaining this is a video for this resource I published here. And that way your resource can get more hits, but also EduPlat will get more hits. The whole community can grow much more easily, because obviously many million people know about YouTube, but at the moment, not many people know about EduPlat, and we need that to happen. The more people that use EduPlat, the easier it will be, the more interesting it will be to share resources, okay? Now we have Filippo here that has a hand up. So Filippo, pick up the microphone.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would wanted just to say something about the presentations everyone has presented, and speaking as non-teacher, I could say that these presentations were more than inspirational, especially when it comes down with kids, because I feel really attached to this matter. I mean, the education system related to kids. And I believe that, well, first thing is that I want to relate to Margarita's comment when she was talking about empathy. And the first thing is in order to achieve that goal, is to create bonds between teachers and students in order to create a real strong relationship and build trustness between them. And that's why in this case, this specific case, I believe that an educational resource tailored needs can be very much built up in order to achieve this goal. And well, surely non-formal way is the way to go through this this path. That's why I would like to underline during the workshop that something has to be considered, which is the perspective of kids before the one of teachers. So I believe that creating this this point of view, a very useful education resource can be created. Thank you.
Thank you, Filippo. Very, very interesting. And obviously, we can more easily see the other people's point of view if there are many of us doing that. Yeah. Now we have only like literally one more minute. Francesca, if you want to make a quick comment.
Using this year for a motivational course, which is Speedy Words. I have found it very useful for learning the vocabulary of a whole level, because you can put everything together with personality, adjectives, jobs, sports names, town places, etc. So I think we should also consider this game too.
Okay. Thank you, Francesco. Remember that if you wanted to introduce to more educational resources, you have next Congress to do that. Very, very important. In this Congress, we're talking about these three main sections. And we don't want to introduce specifically new resources, although obviously they come on the way. But remember that you can submit your name to present at the next Congress in Zaragoza if you have any idea of any educational resource that you think is useful for other teachers, whether you are the author or not of the resource. The only thing that we want is you to have used it at least once with your own students. Okay, very, very important. And Alessandra, you had your hand up before. I don't know if you have something very, very important now.
No, it was just to ask Francesco what resource he was talking about, because when he switched on the microphone, we could only listen half of what he spoke. So I don't know the first part. I got a little bit lost, probably.
Okay, no problem. Francesco was very, very keen on presenting a new educational resource, and he's probably going to do that in next Congress. Okay, so Francesco, please. Reply to the email that you registered when you registered, and just remember, if you want to introduce a new educational resource, all they have to do is get the contact email of your EduPlat team and say, I would like to present this educational resource in Zaragoza, and you don't need to come to Zaragoza. Remember, many of us are going to be connecting from far away. Okay, we only have 1 minute left, so all I need to do is say thank you to everyone that's participated this morning. Remember that we're going to be coming back here in just 2 hours. So at 3:30 Central European time, that's 2:30 in Portugal, that's 4:30 in Greece, and many other times in many other parts of the world. We might have many more people this afternoon, I know, because we have many people registering from the other side of the Atlantic. And obviously for them, it was a little bit too early or too late, depending on how they see it. So I think this afternoon, it might be easier for them to connect. So more than welcome. Obviously, this is going to be recorded in the YouTube channel. And then remember, we're going to be connecting for the many different activities. There's going to be 3 different workshops. The main one that is going to be in this channel is the workshop that is going to go for the whole afternoon, using design thinking to create better resources. There's going to be 2 other channels that I explained at the beginning of this morning, on using the Skype channels. They're going to be doing that. But don't worry if you have forgotten, because all you have to do is come back here, whether you're in Zoom or in the YouTube channel. And at the very beginning of this, I will be introducing that again, also because some people might not have connected. All of this information is published, obviously, on the website. So all you have to do is connect, and I look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. See you later.